Okay, looks like go time. Ready?
Music. Welcome, one and all, fellow Welshmen. Welshmen, we were all Welshmen. Now, that was an asexual term. Not that that stuff didn't go on around here. However, at that time, it was generic. It applied to everyone, male or female, needless to say, who went to this institution. And so we are all very happy, I'm sure, to be here on this hot summer day, to be at our old stomping ground, Prince of Wales College Auditorium, now the Florence Simmons Exhibition Hall, beautifully done. And as I stand here, I see over the, they're called headlands, over the window, the Prince of Wales feathers. Now there are two points of significance to those feathers. The first is that with those feathers, symbols of the Prince of Wales, there's a term, there's a motto, Ishdeen, which means I serve. And each of you, by being here this afternoon, when you would want to be at the beach or on a golf course, you are serving. You're continuing to show your dedication and support for the institution that was so formative in your education and in your sense of community responsibility. And you wouldn't be here if you didn't have that sense of community responsibility. I only went to grade 12 at Prince of Wales, but I was certainly far better prepared than youngsters in Halifax who were coming from local high schools to university there. And that seemed to be the case for most students who came out of Prince of Wales, irrespective of the year that they happened to attend. So I welcome you all here. I think we had a wonderful time at UPEI for the lunch, and they had maximum capacity. They had to turn people away at UPEI, and you can look around you and see what a wonderful turnout we have here this afternoon. So I thank you all very much for coming. When I think of Ishdeen, I serve, I think of two things as well. I think of the faculty who were so formative in our education, and I think in molding our characters, our personalities as well. And I wonder if those of the faculty who are present, if you could just raise your hand so we could recognize you, please. Now, if I were to attempt to start naming you all, I'd forget half of you, and then there would be criticism from both parties. Not just one, there'd be criticism from both of them. However, when I think of alumna of this institution, we do have someone present that I would like to recognize, someone who has in every sense of her life exemplified the spirit and principles of Prince of Wales College, and that is the former Premier and former Senator Catherine Colbeck, who is continuing that period of service, of course, as Chancellor of UPEI. So, Senator, Chancellor, former Premier, thank you for joining us. It's a real pleasure and honor to have you with us this afternoon. And now, oops, I'd much prefer to be without this thing. However, I'm going to have to be careful I don't blow you out of the theater. And so we are here to greet friends and have a great party. And while we're here to honor this place and the teachers that we have just recognized, I think it's important that as we go forward with our afternoon program, that we celebrate each other and recognize the achievements that we have all attained. And we all have attained significant achievements, even if it's just survival. However, so as we look around, do greet people that you know, and if you're not quite sure who people are, they will welcome your approach to introduce yourself so that you can have a chance to catch up and have a good time. Now, I would like to now turn to the Vice Principal of Holland College, Doug Curry, who's going to bring us greetings from Holland College. Doug?
We meet again. Well, thank you very much. And before I share some of my scripted notes, I just want to acknowledge the organizing committee. I just obviously was at the luncheon with all of you, and I want to say how impressed I am with the commitment from all of you to take the time to be here, to make this event very special. But the organizing committee obviously has done a lot of work, and as the Vice President at Holland College, I'm extremely proud to be part of the events here today, and I want to thank you for taking the time to participate. As a result of fire code, we had to turn down a whole lot of people that wanted to attend the luncheon, so that sends a very strong message to myself as part of the leadership team of the college that PWCers are alive and well and are very interested in what's going on at the college, and as a college, we're extremely committed to making sure that our current students who are attending programs and students that will be graduating recognize and respect the great history and the contributions that all of you made during the past 50 years to make us who we are and what we are today. And I shared with somebody at the event at lunchtime that each and every one of you have a footprint. During my presentation, I shared some really great numbers and some realities of what we are and where we are today. But all of you have to take some responsibility in making us as successful today during that course of the last 50 years. So thank you very much for that. And as part of Dr. Sandy McDonald's leadership team here at the college, we're extremely committed to work with our foundation to celebrate our successes and continue to build on the foundation and the alumni we have all over the world, and to make Holland College an amazing place, not only to participate in programs and schools, but to come back and visit. So thank you for that. So good afternoon, and welcome back to the Florence Simmons Performance Hall. I know that many of you have fond memories, and some not so fond. I understand this was the former gymnasium, and during exam time, you spent a lot of time in this space, although it looked very different when you were students at Prince of Wales. So the mural in the lounge that a lot of you were looking at celebrates some of the hundreds of activities that have taken place in this room over the years, and the panels in the lobby celebrate the rich history of Prince of Wales College that we're all very proud of. You are all part of that history, and it's an honor to have you with us here today. For over a century, young men and women attended Prince of Wales College to become teachers, to learn business, and to prepare to go on to further training as doctors, lawyers, and dentists. In recognition to the continuing legacy of you, of Prince of Wales College alumni in our communities, our provinces, and beyond, Holland College and the Holland College Foundation will be dedicating the Prince of Wales College Alumni Garden as part of the Holland College's 50th anniversary celebration. The garden is located on the main lawn facing the original entrance to Prince of Wales College on Weymouth Street. Look to your far right as you exit. You will see that it has space to grow, and this is intentional. It will be augmented each summer with a new plant, shrub, flower, or other addition to mark the annual return visit of PWC alumni to our campus. Permanent signs will be installed in September as we kick off our 50th anniversary celebration, so stay tuned. And if you're in the neighborhood, you're very much welcome, and if you're close by, drop in, meaning Nova Scotia and New Brunswick, of course. We are always delighted to host this portion of your annual reunion, and our staff look forward to seeing you every year. Please enjoy the rest of your day, and once again, welcome home. I want to acknowledge Joanne Campbell-Boudelaire, who's over on the other side. Joanne is our Executive Director of our Holland College Foundation. If you haven't met her, we're very fortunate to have her doing the great work that she's doing. And I want to thank the Holland College staff who are here today for the great work they're doing in hosting and welcoming us to the Florence Simmons Performance Hall. So enjoy the presentation and the entertainment. Thank you.
Well, you've had an excellent representation of the cooperation, the continuity that has followed both St. Dunstan's and Prince of Wales College, having had the luncheon at the university and now the attendance here in Holland College. Now, this term, Prince of Wales, where, you know, you see the symbols, the Prince of Wales feathers. Is there any currency, is there any relevance to this place with Prince of Wales? Indeed there is. About 4 or 5 years ago, an approach was made to His Royal Highness, the Prince of Wales, to request his permission to name the campus here at Holland College, the Prince of Wales campus, that provides absolute continuity between the Prince of Wales that you and I knew as an educational facility and this place today. So there is this continuity. The feathers are there only because of the permission, therefore, of His Royal Highness. So it's nice to know that there is that continuity and that degree of cooperation between the two institutions as they move forward with the fantastic plans for the university, and we've certainly heard wonderful plans from Holland College as well. I just remind you that this is the 50th year on the establishment of UPEI. But I think missed in the rhetoric so far is that 50 years ago, the only graduating class from Prince of Wales as a university took place as well. Now, do we have any of those graduates present in 1969? Do we have anyone in that graduate? Good. So, you know what, I'd like to, let's give a round of applause. I think that's really, thank you very, very much for standing. Don't think that you're isolated or or that your degree is irrelevant. It's not. It's part of the continuity. And that's why I was mentioning about the Prince of Wales and the naming of this campus, the hospitality we've received at the university and that we are receiving at the moment at Holland College. You are part of the educational continuity of higher education in this province. And I think you are singular, you are unique in that whole continuity. You're very lucky, I think, in many ways. And so, in celebration, and I think in further symbolism of the cooperation between UPEI and Holland College, and indeed between St. Dunstan's and Prince of Wales, we have a guest speaker. And that guest speaker is a graduate of St. Dunstan's, and he is, of course, Dr. Ed McDonald, Mr. History PEI, and we're welcoming him. He's going to speak on the Saints and Welshmen. Now, I want to make something very clear. On my notes, it says the Saints and Welshmen. The fact that Saints comes first, Dr. McDonald, doesn't make the Saints any more saintly than the Welshmen. Let me assure you, there is no Welshman. Very good. So I would welcome to the podium now Dr. Ed McDonald, who will be talking about the Saints and Welshmen. Please come forward.
Well, the first thing that I have to confess is that I'm not an SVU graduate. Jim's just managed to add a decade to my age. And I was telling people I was feeling younger up until now. Actually, I'm so pleased to be asked to be here. And my goodness, to see such a crowd and to see so many people that I know. I do have to say, I think there are a few imposters here. Because some of you are not old enough to have gone to Prince of Wales. And I'm not either. However, I do have a history with the school because many members of my family went, including my mother, who went here in the 30s to get a license to be a teacher, and my aunt, And I found out recently my great aunt went to Prince of Wales in 1893-94 with someone who became rather well known as a writer. That was Ellen Montgomery. And my great aunt became a nun. But she won a prize for Latin. So the talk that I had today is a version of a talk I gave on Heritage Day this year, and it was only 10 minutes long, and Barb booked it, I think, for that reason. Because it's supposed to be short. And so I will try to speed along the road to UPEI. Books have been written about the two schools. And so we're going to be going pretty fast. I'd be happy to answer questions, perhaps informally afterwards. I think the band is going to start, whether I finish or not. I do have a slideshow, and it's not connected so much to my talk. And so, Gloria is going to scroll through because the automatic scroll isn't working, and neither one of us has the technological expertise to fix it. So, the history of higher education on Prince Edward Island. That's the family tree for UPEI. And it's a reminder that the island became, possession of the British in 1763, it became a colony in 1769, and already by 1804, while still in the pioneer stage, the legislators were giving thought to education as the foundation for the future of the society on Prince Edward Island. In the Catholic Church, the motivation was partly a religious one. The missionary priest at the time, whose sculpture you can see there just up the road from one of our main bars. Okay, it is alongside the church. Those are McCachran. Father McCachran came to Prince Edward Island as a missionary priest in 1790. He labored for 45 years, constantly on the move across the Maritimes. He needed laborers for the vineyard. He needed a succession of clergy, and he had an ambition for the island to be a diocese independent of the Diocese of Quebec. But in order to win that independence, he had to prove that it could provide itself with the clergy. The only problem was, in order to get itself a college to educate young men for the clergy, he had to become a diocese. So it was a kind of a catch-22 situation. And it took from about 1797 until 1831 before he was able to open the college in his home in St. Andrews, a home which, by the way, he had built in part by himself because he was handy as well as being a bit of an intellectual. And you can see that image. Meanwhile, the government of the island, having set aside land for the future site of a school in 1804, which one of the presidents of the university insisted become the founding date for UPEI, in which I tactfully passed over in silence. That school actually opened in 1836, the Central Academy it was called, and one of the things that you perhaps don't know is that Isaac Smith was very likely the architect of this school. He's certainly the architect of Central Academy, but he also was the architect of the successor to St. Andrews College, because the bishop after McCachran, who was a MacDonald, as many good islanders are, especially those with big D's and MACs. Not that there's any correct way to spell MacDonald, just for example. He was intent on bringing his college closer to the center of the population of Prince Edward Island. He had all kinds of reasons. He had problems with his school at St. Andrews, but he wanted to bring it closer. And in 1843, he bought land just outside the city of Charlottetown. In 1844, he started to build his college, and I believe the architect was Isaac Smith. There's Central Academy. I'm not sure if we've shown the image yet of SDU. We didn't know what SDU looked like until recently. At the archives, they acquired a photograph of main building in the winter of 1862, so we now know what the original main building looked like, and it was designed by Isaac Smith. Anyway, that college took 11 years to open. St. Andrews closed in 1844. but SDU did not open until 1855. It changed its name because the patron saint for the parish was a different saint, an Anglo-Saxon saint, so yes, he sucked up to the British a little bit in choosing the name for his new school, and it opened on January the 17th, 1855. It took 11 years to find the money to finish the college, and that's going to become one of the hallmarks for both the school at Prince of Wales and the school at SDU, and that is a lack of money. A lack of money to realize their dreams and ambitions, because these were educators who did dream big. Meanwhile, Central Academy in 1860 overhauled the curriculum, upgraded itself, and renamed itself a college, Prince of Wales College, because Albert Edward, later to be King Edward VII of England, the first member of the royal family ever to come to PEI, came to visit on PEI for a few hours, and we went gaga over royalty, as we tend to do, and we promptly named a school after him, and the town of Alberton. And Alexandra after his wife. These schools, this person, so the first of the principals at Prince of Wales was Inglis, but the person who made the Prince of Wales that you went to, the person who was the architect of its academic excellence, was Alexander Anderson. So about a month ago we had a lecture on Alexander Anderson at the university by Marion Bruce. It was a wonderful lecture. Barbara Dunn was there, as I recall. He is my hero. Without exerting his authority, he had authority. Without vaunting his intellect, he was an intellectual. And without being a tyrant, he forged a reputation for Prince of Wales College of excellence. By the force of his example, and he was principal for 32 years and turned out graduates like Sir Andrew MacPhail, author of The Master's Wife and many other works of nonfiction. And I think Ellen Montgomery's photograph is going to come up. She worshipped Alexander Anderson, and MacPhail admired him so much he created a medal in his name, the Anderson Medal, for the most distinguished student at Prince of Wales, according to the calendar from 1900. Meanwhile, St. Dunstan's was undergoing one crisis after another. In the history of Prince of Wales, they had Principal Inglis, Anderson, Sammy Robertson, Principal Steele, and McKinnon. So that's the entire history of the school. What's that, 5 people? St. Dunstan's changed the rector as often as some people wash their hair. Well, certainly some men wash their hair in the colonial period. It struggled because if they charged what they needed to charge to pay for the school, students couldn't afford to go. But if they charged what students could afford to pay, they couldn't run the school, which was one of the incipient factors in a decade of sectarian warfare on Prince Edward Island, not physical warfare, but political warfare, as SDU began a quest for an annual government grant, which was denied because it was a Catholic school in a society that was split on denominational lines. And Prince of Wales, despite the reputation some have attached to it, was a non-denominational school. It welcomed individuals of all faith, and there was not a test of faith. But because most Catholics were expected to go to the Catholic school, and did, and it was the only college for the Protestants of Prince Edward Island, Protestants could be forgiven for regarding it as their school. St. Dunstan's came to a crisis in 1882. They brought in the Jesuits for 5 years. The Jesuits stayed for 1 year, said, no one can run this college, and they left. The bishop was advised to close the school to cut his losses, and he famously said, close my eyes first, then close my college. So McIntyre was the bishop at that time. He found the resources for St. Dunstan's to continue. You saw the rebuilt brick main building, which was the only building on campus for many years, except for the farm buildings. And St. Dunstan's slowly fashioned a history for itself. In 1917, it acquired a charter to operate as a university, the first school on Prince Edward Island to have the power to grant its own degrees. From 1892, it could grant degrees, but they were from Laval University, according to this kind of affiliation agreement. And Prince of Wales tried the same thing. In 1907, they worked out an agreement with the school at McGill, you might have heard of, the top university in Canada and one of the top schools in North America, killed by politics. Because that underscores one of the problems for Prince of Wales, which was that it was run by the government. And governments are susceptible to pressures, to political kinds of pressures. So, the normal school, established in 1856, where people trained to be a teacher, was amalgamated in 1879. There'll be a test on all the dates, by the way, afterwards. Was amalgamated in 1879 with the College of Prince of Wales in order to save money. Now, there are two very important results from that. One, it brought Roman Catholics to Prince of Wales in increasing amounts, I should say numbers, because to get a teacher's license, you needed to go to the normal school, and the normal school was now part of the College of Prince of Wales. And it brought women to college on Prince Edward Island. It took a little longer at St. Dunstan's, 1938. There were nuns. The woman who claimed to be the first woman to go to SDU and took issue with me, I said, but Gertrude, there were nuns who went to St. Dunstan's before you started in 1942. And she said, they don't count. Now, Gertie Butler, Snooks, as I believe she was called when she was a student here at Prince of Wales, did create history. She convinced the bishop to allow laywomen to go to an all-male school. Were they very enlightened at Prince of Wales? Yes, they allowed women. However, they were each supposed to come and go by separate doors. They weren't supposed to actually associate with one another, except in the classroom in the early days. But what a breakthrough. Looking at the crowd here, which is 80% women, what a breakthrough. So you have Prince of Wales, which tries to affiliate with the school at McGill, killed by Farmers' Institutes who lobbied the province to offer manual training. They said, Prince of Wales is the school for islanders. Islanders are farmers. They need to be better farmers. They don't need to learn Latin and Greek roots. They need to know how to grow root crops. It's possible the Catholic Church was also involved, not wanting to lose the monopoly which they enjoyed on degree granting through their affiliation agreement with Laval. But even when St. Dunstan's had its own degree granting powers, it didn't grant its own degrees because it knew it wasn't good enough. It knew it had to upgrade the facilities, it had to upgrade the qualifications of the faculty. The physics class in the 1920s consisted of the priest using the cane that he walked with to explain how they built the railway bridge at Quebec City. The second term, he explained all the reasons it fell down. It was not until 1941 St. Dunstan's had its own degree activated and began to grant degrees in its own name, and the first person to graduate from St. Dunstan's, because they were a Cullen at the top of the alphabet, but also graduated #1 in their class, was a woman. Just saying. And if you meet my wife later, make sure you remind her that I gave due recognition to both the genders. Meanwhile, Prince of Wales added a manual training wing financed by the MacDonald family in Montreal. It added a new school, which you saw, a stone and brick school, which burned in the early 1930s and was replaced by the beautiful building that you're in now. When they rebuilt the school, they overhauled the curriculum again, so that if you took the classical course at Prince of Wales, not just 1 year for teacher training or 2 years for teacher training, if you took the classical course at Prince of Wales, you could enter the 3rd year at every major university in Canada. It was a great recognition of Prince of Wales' record of excellence. There was criticism that the standards were too high at Prince of Wales, that the middling student struggled because the standards were so high. But on the other hand, everyone enjoyed the benefit of its reputation for excellence. And that reputation was picked up by Gerald Steele when he became the principal, and Frank McKinnon, the last principal. There's Frank McKinnon with the cigar. Was there ever an educator on Prince Edward Island who dreamed bigger than Frank McKinnon? He wanted to make this school into the Dartmouth of Canada. He thought there was no reason why Prince of Wales University, and it became a university in 1965, why it could not be, despite being in a small town in a small province, could not be every bit as good as an Ivy League school. Of course, that didn't happen. The baby boom launched a generation of students into universities at St. Dunstan's and Prince of Wales. They needed more programs, they needed more laboratories, they needed better qualified professors. Education was embraced by the federal level of government as the foundation, as the engine of the Canadian economy, and the federal level of government began funding universities. In fact, they soon became an indispensable granting agent for universities. Except that they, after the early 60s, they no longer gave the money directly to the universities, they gave it to the provincial government to spend on education as it saw fit. And the governments of Prince Edward Island in the mid-60s could not figure out the calculus of how to operate two universities offering the same programs in a small province with limited resources. So they elevated the school at Prince of Wales to a university so that it would be equal in stature to St. Dunstan's. Not a reputation, I'm not talking reputation here, although SVU had made itself into a very good school. Equal in status, so that they could federate, and that the two schools could survive by working together and assigning programs so that they removed all the duplication. Wasn't in the cards. The 60s were time for dreaming. Frank McKinnon was absolutely not interested in any kind of a federation. SVU was, but I'm not sure how seriously. They pronounced themselves in favor of federation, but no one moved very quickly on it. And you know the end of the story, and Rowena was telling me how she was one of the demonstrators in the late 60s. The government of the day, in a bold, politically risky move for government with a majority of 2 in the legislature, one of whom then left the caucus, so that they really only had a majority of 1. The government of the day created a new university. To SVU it said, continue to operate if you want, but you won't have government grants. And St. Dunstan's closed and has sold its campus to UPEI, and Prince of Wales was the government university. Frank McKinnon perhaps had every reason to expect that the government school would become the provincial university. But the government of the 60s, the government of the development plan, the government of modernity, felt that it had to turn the page and start afresh. And so it began, this new university, UPEI. And that was the occasion of a great deal of sadness on the part of alumni of Prince of Wales and SVU. Some bitterness which still lingers. But I'll tell you something, and I'll tell you a couple of things as I close. UPEI has a commitment to excellence in higher education. It's not the result of amalgamation of 2 schools, but it is the educational heir of 2 proud universities with reputations for excellence and reputations for serving islanders first. So in that sense, UPEI is the child of Prince of Wales, and it is the child of St. Dunstan's. The UPEI that I began at in 1974 is the child of those aspirations and those dreams. I've talked a lot about buildings, I've talked a little bit about some of the principals and rectors. Can't talk about the wonderful teachers and the terrible teachers, because there were both. But universities are people. In the end, universities are people in relationships. And I like to say that a university consists of 3 communities. There's the students and the faculty and the staff. But this afternoon I'm reminded that a university consists of 4 groups of people. And the 4th are the alumni, the students whose history is part of our history. And so let's go make history together.
This gentleman is known as Mr. History Prince Edward Island, and why he enjoys an exemplary reputation as a teacher. Ed, thank you very much. Your presentation was highly informative, but it was also very engagingly presented. I thank you very much, and I am looking for an envelope that will be presented to him. What's in the envelope only Nora Scales knows. If I can find her to give it to me. Would you like to bring it forward, please? Well, we'll leave it. And Ed, I'll find you later. Thank you very, very much, Ed. Oh, all right, Ed, you'll notice that I have been successful in getting this for you. My fee is 30%. It's my standard fee.
The winner of the Oscar is...
And it served as a very, very healthy reminder of why collectively we have much to be proud of these 2 separate institutions, Holland College and UPEI, which are both inheritors of a strong tradition of higher education in this province. We're very fortunate indeed. Now I'm going to ask Anne Love, Dr. Anne Love, to come forward. She has some reflections from her 60 years of association with this campus with Prince of Wales.
Anyway, first of all, I have some greetings from our life president, Wallace Platts, in the Cayman Islands. Long-distance greetings to the class of '59 and to classmates unable to attend, like me, he says. To all others in attendance or behind the scenes, thank you for helping us to celebrate. And a special thanks to UPEI and Holland College for their support. We remember and greatly miss classmates who have passed on. Hello from my wife Edna, who has enjoyed meeting many of you and who described for me a characteristic of Islanders, treating each one equally. Through our professors and programs at Prince of Wales College, we were very fortunate in our grounding. As we go forward, I leave you with this challenge: to use our training and knowledge and galvanize to protect our planet that we have unwittingly plundered. It is the greatest challenge to man since we evolved. Can we do it? Well, we can help. We mustn't shy away. Ich Dean, we are the class of '59. Peace, love, and thank you to all. Wallace. Now I have a few other things to tell you here, and I have to ask you if you wouldn't mind paying attention to this. The convocation for our 1959 class was held in the college auditorium on Friday morning, May 22nd, 1959. There were 24 students in the graduating class. The valedictorian was Alan McKay. The convocation dance was held in the auditorium on Friday, May 15th from 10 p.m. to 1 a.m. The music was provided by the Downtowners. The last waltz, of course, was Memories of Old Prince of Wales. Cost for the event, $3 a couple. What were some of the highlights of our 4 years leading up on to our graduation. Well, to enter Prince of Wales College, students had to write and pass the much dreaded entrance exams, written over a 3-day period in the PWC gym on rows of long wooden tables. For students who passed the exams and entered first year of PWC, it was a new experience. For one thing, classes were held 6 days a week, and the school year ended in May. Professors treated the students as adults and expected them to act accordingly. We also had a wide range of subjects, including 3 sciences, art, and public speaking. When we reached 3rd year, we were down to just 5 subjects a term. That was a real surprise. Anyway, each year began, of course, with Principal Dr. Frank McKinnon delivering his annual "Don't Be Social Butterflies" address to the student body in the auditorium. Dr. Frank was also one of our teachers. He taught Canadian history to all second-year classes assembled in the gymnasium. He was instructive and sometimes entertaining in delivery. What about some of the other instructors? We think of Kitty Bethune-Coyle, skidding along the hallways in her stiletto heels. Eleanor Lowe, our quiet and dignified art teacher, who was teaching Prince of Wales since the early 1920s. Alistair MacDonald, pacing the classroom floor as he recited Shakespeare. Bob Leclerc, our French teacher and popular coach of the girls' basketball team and the boys' curling team. Yes, boys' curling team. J.J. Coyle opened the classroom door to let in Pat, his beagle. W.J. McDonald, also known as Billy Archie, who went from math teacher to the post of lieutenant governor. And the Brow, intimidating to some, a hero to others. In the early 1950s, music had become an important part of the program at PWC. In 1956, the PWC ensemble, under the direction of Miss Lillian Mackenzie, presented the famous Gilbert and Sullivan comedy operetta, The Mikado. The show ran for 3 nights and was well received. Several members of our class were in the cast, some of them played leading roles. The Mikado started a PWC tradition. 3 or 4 more productions were staged in subsequent years. Social life kept students busy. Besides the formal dances, there were the usual co-ed and Sadie Hawkins dances. Record hops became popular in 1957 when the Student Council paid for a combination sound system and record player for the auditorium. College Day, which started in 1954, featured ice sports, a hockey game, boys and girls basketball games, and always ended with a dance. King's College from Halifax often provided the opposition and usually won the games. But in 1959, for the first time, PWC won all their games. The local rendezvous, or RON, was a popular meeting spot for students. Here they celebrated their joys or drowned their sorrows in a glass of cherry coke. Remember that? There was certainly a wide choice of sports for students: football, hockey, basketball, volleyball, soccer, curling, track and field, badminton, and ping pong. Sports writers provided detailed coverage of the games, but often focused on the effort, determination, and sportsmanship of the team members more than the wins and losses. In 1956, PWC had a girls' soccer team for the first time, and it was probably the first on the island. The captain of the team was Wayne McDonald-Story, and she is here with us today. And another member of the team, who I think she is here with us today, is Charlotte McCacker-McLeod. Are you here, Charlotte? Oh, good. In 1958, the PWC curling team won the PEI Schoolboy Championship and played in the Canadian Championships held in Charlottetown. It was an exciting week with the PWC boys placing runner-up to the victorious Northern Ontario team. There were the usual clubs and organizations for students to join, including high-Y groups, and for boys there was military training. Other students worked on the College Times, which was now printed in newspaper format. The reflections on our PWC experience make us grateful for the educational opportunity given to us, for all the memories that we celebrate today, and the friendships formed in our days of PWC that continue unbroken into the future. 3 cheers for the class of '59.
Thank you very much, Anne. You were describing 1959. You could have been describing, in general terms, just about every experience that people have had in this audience. And we thank you for bringing that forward. I certainly was able to relate to my 2 years here at Prince of Wales as you were talking about it. So thank you. And at this time, it's my pleasure to call on Margaret Tomlinson Knox. And she is going to be talking about the 1969 class.
Friends and families, and honored guests. Now, was anyone here as surprised as I was to find out it had been 50 years? Hands up. I was shocked. While we were in college, a lot happened. Social insurance cards were issued. Canada Pension Plan was established. We went all the way with Canada Pension Plan. We experienced Trudeau-mania. The Royal Commission on the Status of Women was established. Abortion laws and laws concerning homosexuality were liberalized. The breathalyzer came into effect. The FLQ kidnapped James Cross and later Pierre Laporte, who was found murdered. Something really out of place for Canada. The Canadian Armed Forces was established. And of course, there was Expo 67. And now, since then, I don't think any of us thought that we would replace our 1 ring-a-dingy, 2 ring-a-dingy crank phones or dial phones for a little tiny cell phone, which also allows us to do hundreds of selfies. And the younger you are, the more you do, I think. Another thing is computers. Now, I'm just learning. I've been just learning for a few years. But my 10-year-old grandson, that's who I go to for help. And electric cars, who knew? Prince of Wales College. Do I say that with love in my voice? Because I loved it. It was small, about 600 students and 40 professors. Because of that, and because this is PEI, we had the opportunity to get to know everyone, from the maintenance staff to the president, as well as fellow students and professors. Now, frequent questions were, and I believe still are, where are you from? Who are your parents? That didn't work for me because I was, from away. However, when I lived in Edmonton, nobody knew. I said I was from PEI. We were proud of our liberal arts education. It empowered us. We were treated like adults and were expected to act accordingly, just as Anne said, nothing changed there. We were free to discuss and debate in class, and often continued the conversations, or debate, in the coffee shop and the hallways. Our professors were often our mentors as well. And I want to take this opportunity to thank Miss Doris Anderson. She was always so kind and caring and taught me so much about life. And what I found is I've had different careers as I went on, but the life skills that I learned in our class were second to none and always served me well, and no matter what I did. When I was in that class, there were only 7 of us, and there are 4 or 5 of us here today. I bet no other class can say 70% of you are here. I am indebted to you, Miss Anderson. Gordon Bennett, our registrar, and later on our Lieutenant Governor, once taught my sister how to properly curtsy on the sidewalk in front of Trinity United Church. Academic excellence was highly valued. A high percentage of the students from PWC went on to achieve great things and credit their ability to their beginnings there. Social life was great. We had a dance marathon that went on for almost 3 days. I understand there were a lot of blisters, though. We had hootenannies, winter carnivals, reviews, sporting events, dances. There was plenty of opportunity to get involved. There was men's and ladies volleyball and basketball with top quality coaches. Hockey, and I believe it was in 1969 or 68 that it became women's hockey as well. Ski club and curling club. Then there was the PWC chorus, band, cultural committee, conservative and liberal clubs, campus police, time staff, and drama club, who put on some top-notch plays and musicals. The drama club, not the time staff. And of course, the Welshman yearbook staff. In our final year, we had a great student representative assembly. Alan Rod was the president, with Brian Chambers being the vice president. Demi Gregory, Jeannie Ives, John Kearney, Don Chandler, and Jan Henry, as well as all the class reps. At Christmas, almost everyone went home. But with the few who couldn't, again being PEI, families hosted them, so they wouldn't be alone. Every year, my family took in several students, and it was a delightful sharing our different traditions. Montgomery Hall, still in its infancy as a residence for girls, was a place to gather with the Student Center connected to it by the rotunda. This common room had a jukebox, a pop machine, and was a popular spot for games, sing-songs, rock hops, and hootenannies. Over the years, we had a number of celebrities visit our hallowed halls. There was Rich Little, Gordon Lightfoot, Anne Murray, Ian and Sylvia, and Lester Pearson. He also visited our campus. And Diane Anderson tells me she was elected to dance with him. What an honor. The government declared in 1968 that it would only support one university. Attending the legislature was an education itself. We learned that adults don't always put their best foot forward, but often act like children, even in our higher courts. And that was before Father Lowe. An eye-opener for sure. We protested the loss of our beloved PWC, but to no avail. It was a confusing, stressful time. Some students moved on to other universities to finish their education. Out of 83 students, 62 of us went on to get our degrees in the final year. Now, this was a bit of a, what would you call it, second place thing, because we had gone through PWC, having the time of our lives, most of us, and also many of us had, well, we knew that we had the best education that could be had, and so all of that was done. But convocation was lovely. It was at the new Confederation Center. It was a lovely ceremony but with mixed feelings. We were glad to have our degrees, but sorry that it was all over. Our dance followed, and again was a wonderful time with laughter, fun, and lots of music, great music. And then there were after parties as well. We can be proud of our alma mater. High standards for academic achievement, behavior and attitude were lauded. Total wellness, though not yet a common term, was encouraged. I entered PWC as a timid, naive teenager, and I graduated as a confident, educated woman. 3 cheers for PWC. Hip hip hooray! Hip hip hooray! Hip hip hooray!
Well, both Mark and Anne have expressed the passion, the commitment, the fond memories that they have from Prince of Wales College. And I think most of us would share that. Indeed, I don't think anyone here today would not be here unless you shared similar sentiments of your time here at Prince of Wales. Thank you very much, Mark. Appreciate your contribution this afternoon, as we have Anne's as well. This closes our formal program. We will now enjoy some nostalgic music from the Blue Crystals, but before we hear from them, I think it would be appropriate for me to recognize the organizing team who were responsible for the arrangements you have enjoyed today, both at UPEI and here at Holland College. The organizing team is comprised of Barbara Johnston McNutt, Barbara Worth McNevin, John Andrew, Diane Anderson, Nora Scales, Heather McPherson Griswold, Anne Michael Love, Margaret Tomlinson Knox, and Margaret Bell. And I would like to extend, and I have been happily directed to do so, by the two Barbaras, and let me tell you, I wouldn't dare deviate from any directions I've received from either one of them. And to extend to Gloria Hashi, who is here at Holland College, and to Kathy Weatherby at UPEI. And I am quoting directly, word for word, and I know this is heartfelt and deeply felt. No question, we couldn't pull this event off without each of them. So I would invite you to join me in a round of applause and expressing your thanks for their contribution. So there may be peace in the valley tonight now that I've done that. All right, back to the Blue Crystals. And I'm going to invite them to take over at this point and take on the program. Now, we are going to have some dancing. And we have Dr. Roger and Lenore Crockett Andrew, who are going to offer some dancing skills for us. I will not be one of those doing it. I have the grace of an elephant on ice. So I will not be dancing, but I will certainly be enjoying the presentation. I invite anyone in the audience, however, who would care to join Dr. and Mrs. Andrew on the floor. So please join in if you're so motivated. Right, so Blue Crystals, you're off and running.
Oh yeah, yeah, I'll be right there. I think we're all right. Light turn on. What's that? Yeah, it's got to be.
Fasten your seatbelts. No smoking in the back of the plane. Right, Leonard? Please bear with us these first few numbers while the professionals at the back try and get us level out here. And, we hope it's not too loud. And if it is, we'll try and knock it back a little bit as we go here. Because normally it gets louder as we go when we get into it, right, Dave?
On behalf of Gary and Leonard and I hope to declare it's not too bad at those lights are. Carry me away. Must we say goodbye? Each time we part, my heart wants to die. Now in my bed, carry me away. I'll Okay, we're going to do this next little song boy that started out life in jolly old England at the day clock 5. And the reason we're going to do it is because.
Because?
Because. Oh, okay.
Ian, you're going to put Ian to work now. Ian, you're up.
Okay.
We'll give Dave a little break here.
You let me know when you're ready to run it.
How's the selections over?
These critical tunes remind me so much of places like the Rollway, high school proms. Wow, A&W, remember that frosty group? You just couldn't wait to get. Dairy Queen, big tall ice cream. Wow. City Dairy, you couldn't walk by the City Dairy without enough. It's staggered at 3 high. North River Drive-In, just goes on and on. Anyway, this old tune by Buddy Holly is called That Will Be the Day. Take it away, man. Where will that be the day when you say goodbye? That will be the day when you may cry, you say you won't leave it, it goes so back. That will be the day when I die, when you come to start, decide that after all, if you're home when I leave you, you won't turn back, you won't really like someday. I will be when you say goodbye. When
Anybody have any water in there?
You know, there was just shy of 500 years between the bunch of us here. That's why we're so slow. But we'll be okay. Yeah, a little bit of cackling.
You can't get it out.
I'm just going to cover.
Gee, that works.
Gary, are you getting piano now? You're listening to this.
That's why recordings take so long.
Here's the water now, Eric.
Here comes the water.
This Gloria does everything here. No, this is it. Gloria's just. Okay.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Yeah, no, please. Plus.
My turn again.
Yes.
All right, we're going to do a tune from the Bill Henning accounts. They started out to rock and roll era way back in 1955. Gary's going to play this saxophone tune. Saxophone, if he wants to come.
If Bobby's going to play this. Isn't he a cute little fellow, this guy? He's got a son getting married tomorrow.
It's going to be a long service by the time we get through all these songs.
Have I got volume, Kevin?
Should have.
That's our right key.
What's the right key?
Yeah, there's a test.
And the contest going. What's the right key? Oh, D. That's D.
Give a shot again here. One, two, three. Yeah, down the future, fire those constant pains.
He's got two choices.
All right.
Just a reminder that if you would like to join Roger and Lenore and John and Christine, please come on down and dance. They're doing very well and there's lots of room.
You don't have to drive. Shake right over.
Great job, Gary.
Yeah, we did the song about rain. We're now going to do one about the sun. It's really called A Place in the Sun. It almost feels like that. Love it a little bit. An old song, actually, was recorded by many people over the years, of all different shapes and sizes. Country folks, blues folks. Anyway, it's a little called A Place in the Sun, and today, this afternoon, it sounds like this. Yeah.
Like a branch on a tree.
1977, the Crystals played for a reunion with Prince William College back then. That particular night we had a lot of guest hosts, instrumental vocalists, all kinds of people.
Yeah.
One of the, we had Mr. Ivo Cutmore, Gary's dad. Pat Kane, there's a whole list of them. I can't remember them all. I do know I didn't do much work that night because there was too many guests. Anyway, one of the vocalists we had with us that night was Mr. Lowell McCauley, and you know, as time does things to us, time changes. Lowell can't be here, but we do have his daughter Heather. She made something.
Heather McCall.
He's trying to cry before we start.
From Connie France to Dusty Springfield. Where's Dusty?
Don't know what it is that makes me love you so.
having any fun yet? We've got a little song by Jim Gold and the Gallery we're going to do for you.
Okay.
A little thing called It's Nice to Be With You. That's all it is. Oh, it's so nice to be with you. I love all the things you say and do. And it's so nice to hear you say you're gonna believe every way. Oh, I got the notion, you call it commotion in my soul. With me, got some in the dream I know it's gonna last a lifetime. Oh, you better believe it, girl, the night I call you babe. Darkness fills my room, I'm only dreaming about the time I'm gonna be with you. Oh, it's so nice to be with you. I love all the things you say and do. And it's so nice to hear you say you're gonna be every way. I get the notion you call emotion in my soul. When I'm feeling down, you better pick me up and help me to carry on. I'll never think feel alive when you shoulder the crowd. It ease the pain and take away the rain. Oh, darling, I just gotta say, oh, it's so nice to be with you. I love all the things you say and do. And it's so nice to hear you say you're gonna be every way. Oh, it's so nice to be with you. I love all the things you say and do. And it's so nice to hear you say you're gonna be every way. Oh, honey, I got the notion you call it commotion in my soul. Oh, honey, I got the notion you call it commotion in my soul. Thank you very much. All right, we're gonna hand it over to Mr. Cutmore here. He's gonna play some Floyd Kramer music for you.
Oh, you let the cat out of the bag.
Oh, I didn't notice.
I was going to ask them who was the most popular studio piano player in the 50s and
You still
60s
ask him?
in Nashville. But he's already told you.
I didn't see him do that.
Okay, what was one of his most popular songs? Last Date, yes. I'm going to do that in a minute. What was one of his most popular up-tempo songs? Anybody remember it?
Oh, you're so wrong
Okay, here's Floyd Kramer with On the Rebound, and then we'll follow it up with Last Date.
We started out the night with a song that was done by Jay and the Americans, and now I'm going to do another one that was done by Jay and the Americans. This little ditty is called Magic Moment. Another one of those times in this life. Magic. If it's any help, folks, I'm the baby in this outfit.
Act like one too, sometimes.
And we got a little medley for you by the Platters we're going to do. It's got a little bit of this, a little bit of that in it. So we're going to start at the beginning and go at the end. Okay, let's do this thing. Oh, yes, not a great By the Downtowners, and one of the saxophone players in the Downtowners was Ivo Cudmore. Gary Stevens. So we're going to do our version of this for you, and he's going to play Ivo's saxophone to make it realistic. How's that? So please enjoy Memories of Pursuit.
Thank
Okay. Okay, we're supposed to quit after that, so sorry about that. Anyway, I got a couple of things I didn't get the chance to say before that because the plan changed. First off, I'd like to give thanks up to the boys up in the back of the sound booth. Kyle, thanks, boys. Good job. And then I know there's been lots of announcements today, and I have to make another one. The Blue Crystals, as such, were started back in 1964. The band ran for some 25 years, and some of the original members are here today. Mr. Ron McLean, who started it all. Garrett, come on. And the rest of us kind of drifted in a little bit after. But anyway, so it's been a long ride all those years, but it's come to the point where things have to change every now and then, and this is a change point in our lives because this is the last performance we do. So we'd like to thank you very much. Sincerely, hope you enjoyed yourselves. And well, I'm just going to finish my speech first. So from Bob, Len, Ian, Ronnie, Gary, and Dave, God bless you.
We haven't done any Roy Orbison tonight, and our finale will be Roy Orbison by Dave Alton.
I was alright for a while. I could smile for a while. Oh, when I saw you last night, you held my hand so tight as you stopped to say hello. Oh, you wish me well, you couldn't tell that I'd be crying over you, crying over you. And you said so long, let me stand here all alone and crying, crying, hard to understand, and the touch of your hand could stop me crying. I thought that I was over you, but it's true, so true. I love you even more than I did before. But darling, what can I do? Oh, you know me, and I'll always be crying over you. Crying over you. Yes, now you're gone, and from this moment on, I'll be crying, Thank you very much. Thank you, audience.
Thanks again. Can you introduce everybody? 3 more introductions. We'd like to hear all names.
If I remember.
Our main man all these years, Ronnie McLean.
Lead vocals, Dave Altez. Bass, Ian Hubbard. Lead guitar, Leonard McEwen. Rhythm guitar, Robert Perry.
And saxophone and keyboards and vocals, Mr. Gary Cutler.
Many happy memories of your group and the music you have brought to this community over the years. Thank you very, very much. Thank you. Very, very much. And I'd also like to recognize both Andrew Couples. Thank you for their contribution. We've enjoyed it. We've appreciated and we're envious. Thank you all. I thank you again to the organizing committee. Those of you who would like to see this done again next year, please let us know with a round of applause. All right, I've got to move on the way out. You'll see donation boxes for next year. Thank you all, and we'll see you next year.